The first U.S. presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump takes place later today. In a race still too close to call, the event is being seen as a critical moment. It will be the first chance some 240 million U.S. voters get to hear Trump and Harris explain their policies side by side ahead of November's election, and will be the first time the two have met. The economy is likely to be a main topic. Harris has tried to portray herself as both an extension of the Biden administration and the face of a new generation. She enters the debate with momentum, but strategists say what voters want to hear more about are her policies. For his part, it's likely Donald Trump will try to pin issues that affected Joe Biden's popularity with voters on Harris, inflation and border security, while suggesting she's not ready to be the nation's commander-in-chief. Well, the debate is happening in the city of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, a crucial swing state. Our correspondent Tom Bateman has been meeting voters in western Pennsylvania and sent this report.
Deep in the American Rust Belt, a rail ride past some of the last of the left behind. Jack and Wayne, men of steel.
Gradually shrinking and going.
They laboured at these vast steel mills for years.
Wish it was still going.
And there they helped forge America's future. But now, that's all in the past.
The Democrats at one time was for the working man. It's not that way anymore.
Today, they hear promises from both sides, cast in the heat of this election, to revive American industry.
I would believe Donald Trump. I don't believe Harris. She's been there 3.5 years and has done nothing. Now all of a sudden she's going to do something. You know, I don't believe her.
One day she's against fracking, then she's for fracking, then she's against it.
So I can tell which way you're going to vote.
Right here's the hat, buddy.
Bit of a clue.
Yeah, I'm 100%. If it's an honest election, he'll win.
The election trail has been surging through Pennsylvania. It is now an intense focus of both campaigns.
Thanks.
But just as the state's split is between urban and rural, it is also unequally divided among men and women. I meet Kelly and Joseph, who say they'll watch Trump and Harris debate on TV tonight.
Well, I used to be a Democrat, not no more. I switched to Republican, but I don't really go by that. I go by who says what's better.
There are a couple who seem in lockstep on most issues, but watch where they differ.
Or is that abortion thing? That's a woman's right. That is not up to the government to decide.
Believe in abortion.
I don't believe in it, but that is up to each individual, not the state or the government.
Last time, Trump took this county by a landslide, 2/3 of the vote. He has rural Pennsylvania under his belt. For Harris to win, she has to hold on to the big cities and, crucially, to win the suburbs in this state. Pennsylvania, now the critical battleground area.
Street by street, door to door, Pennsylvania is being fought for to the last zero of every zip code. The Democrats urge their voters not to stay at home. It is a day off for gas station pump fixer Bridget, who says she was compelled to the doorsteps to stop Donald Trump.
Most people are concerned about women's rights. I know myself that is one of the things that are at the forefront for me. As the mother of 2 daughters, it's incredibly important that they have the right to choose what to do with their own bodies for the rest of their lives.
And back at the local HQ, they're strategizing.
Our freedoms are in the balance, because I truly believe that this election is so important for our basic freedoms, our basic democracy.
Back with steelworker Jack for the weekly music bingo. Here they say they'll be watching tonight the first debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. In a place where life has changed, a TV moment tonight with the power to change lives. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Well, to discuss what kind of message the two candidates will be trying to convey to voters and how they'll try to do that, let's speak to former Director of Global Engagement for the Obama administration, Brett Bruen. Brett, thank you very much for joining us on BBC News. And Pennsylvania, as a state, getting a lot of attention in this campaign. Put this in context for us, the debate later. The polls are incredibly tight, aren't they? So how important will this debate be?
I don't think it's overstating it to say this is the decisive moment in the campaign. Now, that being said, the last debate was the decisive moment in the last campaign, but the American people are going to have, for the first opportunity, to really see Kamala Harris come into her own. She's no longer under that shadow of being Biden's vice president. She is now the presidential nominee for the Democrats, and we will see how she can bring it to Trump and whether or not she can land some of those blows. She's done it at the convention. She's done it on the campaign trail. Now she needs to do it in that debate hall.
Yeah, I think the only time they've been in the same room before, the same space before, was during Donald Trump's State of the Union address. But as we mentioned in the introduction, they haven't met up close. A couple of days ago, Pete Buttigieg, the U.S. Transportation Secretary, said of Donald Trump, and I'm looking at the quote, he's a master of taking any format that's on television and turning it into a show that is all about him. How is Kamala Harris going to deal with that?
Well, she's a prosecutor, and so she will prosecute the case against Donald Trump. And she's pretty methodical in how she goes about some of these attacks. And undoubtedly, she and her campaign, who've been prepping over the last week, will have gone through the best attack lines and the way to address what is a pretty unwieldy, a pretty untraditional debater in Donald Trump. Now, he and his team will have done the same thing. We'll try to pull some new tricks out of the bag and see how Harris reacts to them. But I think the favorite in this, or going into this debate, has got to be Harris. She has, as you've said, the momentum, but she has also been able to land more blows over the last few weeks, rhetorically speaking, than Trump has.
And what will the key challenges be for Trump later, for Donald Trump later? As you mentioned, it's likely to bring out Kamala Harris's experience and instincts as a prosecutor.
Well, I think, quite frankly, his challenge is to stay on script. His team and a lot of Republicans have just been trying to get him to focus on policy, not on some of those personal attacks. The more that he goes there, I think the worse for his campaign. If he is able to practice that uncharacteristic self-control to focus on things like the economy, on the reckless withdrawal from Afghanistan, on issues like the border, I think he will come out of this stronger. But that has not proven to be the case in his rallies recently, and I think there are a few observers who would say we can expect that from tonight.
OK, Brett, good to have your thoughts today. Brett Bruen, former director of global engagement during the Obama administration. And here on BBC News, you'll be able to watch rolling coverage of the ABC News presidential debate simulcast. News coverage will start from 8 p.m. East Coast time on Tuesday. That's 1 a.m. if you're in the UK. And the debate itself will start an hour later.